A demand. After months and months of not providing you with a gag hour, we do have a gag hour right now. It'll certainly be the last one of 1991, and depending on your deportment, may be the last one ever. GAG stands for Get at Grant. Get at Grant. Hi there, John.
Oh, yes, you say Bob Grant. I say Ciro Gigante. Ciro Gigante of the Rio Diner. You thought everyone has forgotten what you said about Haiti. I lay in bed and I agonize over it. You said you wish the boat had sunk and you wish everybody who was Haitian would die. I never forgot about that. I remember the Ciro Gigante who hangs out in the Rio Diner, which is a Greek restaurant. Why does a nice Italian boy hang out in a Greek diner? Why does a nice Italian boy and I have to take hanging out at the Western Wall in Israel, davening when he met Maya Kahani right there? He looked up and Maya Kahani says, "What are you doing here? A nice Italian boy. You are fake, a phony, a fraud, a schmuck, a schmagegi, and a scumbag. And the only reason that you hang out in the Rio Diner is you take home the leftovers. When you mention the Rio Diner twice, that means they're having lamb chops that night. If you mention it once, it's moussaka. You're a bum. You're a dirty, rotten, racist dog. Die like a dog."
On a scale of 1 to 10, I got to give him a 9. Listen, you're on WABC. It's the gag hour.
I do not love you anymore. How dare you? How dare you decide to criticize the men from Attendant at 21? Don't you know that is Winnie's brother? You have caused me much grief and sorrow. He works for a living, not like you, sitting on your butt, telling all this white racist propaganda against me and my beloved wife, who is now, at this very moment, cooking the Christmas bird as soon as she can find a tire to fit around his neck. Don't you understand? Il Supremo is the absolute ruler of the People's Republic of New York State. How dare you, as a white man, rail against him and his minion, my brother in faith, the man who came home to South Africa? How dare you go against these people? You are a white dog, and we will come to your house. We will find tires of the right size to fit around your neck. Don't you understand? It is Christmas. It's time to laugh.
All right, that was Nelson. I wonder if his wife Winnie is still saying Mandela, Mandela. Anyway, on a scale of 1 to 10, I got to give him an 8.5. Not bad, not bad. Checking in from Fort Lee. Hello.
Yeah, Bob. There were 2 events during the past year about which you made unequivocal, flat statements that turned out to be 100% wrong, and I haven't heard anyone expose you. The first one was during the war in the Persian Gulf. From time to time during that war, callers would call up and ask questions to the effect of, "Bob, what should we do when we win the war? What then?" And you would vilify anyone who asked that question with a remark like, "Let's win the war. First things first, you jerk," or "You anti-American skunk." And it turned out that question was right on point, right on target, to use your vernacular, because it turned out we weren't prepared for the end of the war. We didn't plan sufficiently for it, plan ahead for it. The other event was the confirmation hearings for Clarence Thomas. In the first few days after Anita Hill came out of the woodwork, a few callers commented that they thought Clarence was not the guy for the job. And you made a flat statement to the effect of, "Don't worry about it, pal. He won't be confirmed." You also refused to own up to an honest mistake when such a mistake is exposed. For example, I remind you of a call from David from Irvington, the guy involved with CORE and who most of the listeners know is also blind. When a later caller pointed out that you screwed up by asking David, "Doesn't Geraldo Rivera's nose look better after his plastic surgery?" You gave the lame excuse, "Oh, I knew David couldn't see Geraldo's nose. My comment was for the edification of the listening audience." Come on, Bob, nobody believed that. You also overwork some of these clever phrases. I'm really getting tired of hearing, "Shocking disclosure, shocking disclosure." And when you tell a caller to get off my phone, if the next caller hesitates even 1 second, we always hear, "It never fails. If I yell at somebody, the next caller's afraid to come on the line." So predictable. So predictable.
Oh, that's beautiful.
In closing, I want to draw an analogy between your show and the TV show All in the Family. All in the Family is mentioned from time to time by you and by callers, and you usually say, "Oh, I never watched it. I don't like sitcoms." Bob, that show was so good, especially the character of Archie, that it transcended the classification of a sitcom. And I would recommend those reruns to anyone. And I think not to enjoy that show would make about as much sense as somebody saying that they don't listen to the Bob Grant show because they don't like talk shows. Bob, in closing, as Frank from Queens would say, thank you.
I think I'm going to give Mike, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think I'm going to give him an 8. A gentleman checking in by the name of Harley.
Bob, baby, dear, my man, I'm going to get serious with you, baby. I'm going to slow the pace. You ain't going to toy with me like you toy with some of them other people, baby. I know shit out there, baby, for you to badmouth on. I do some backdoor, the word out there on the street, baby. Some crackhead going to do a number on you, because you got to be put in your place, daddy. Some backdoor work is going to be done on you. Now the man is going to do the work, Jack. Anytime, anywhere. You understand what I'm talking about, daddy? You know I'm out there, and you know that you can be found, Jack. You talking all that. You got all your shields out there on the air. Everybody laughing like it's funny, huh? Ain't no funny, Jack. There are people suffering out there in the street. Little girl got a rag doll in her hand. A man, he don't have no ball to play with. All the kids out there starving, and you talking that trash. I come down there and bust your lip bust your head till it cracks, baby. I kick you in the arm, kick you in the leg. I kick you, baby, till your arms pop out your head. And then I bloody up your anal cavity, baby. And you said, don't do no more. But I keep right on the humping and the bumping, Jack. Because you got to pay, daddy. And you gonna pay.
Did you ever hear of Vito? Do you know Vito? Left him speechless. What do you want to give him? On a scale of 1 to 10, Mr. Kachapoli is giving the fellow identifying himself as Harley as an 8. And Susan is giving him a 6, okay? Well, as far as Cuomo is concerned, you're not expressing an idea, you're stating a fact.
Yeah.
The man, I tell you what upsets me about him. Not that he's been a disaster as a governor, because there are a lot of disasters as governors from both parties. Look at the Flim Flam man.
Yeah.
But what upsets me about him is how the media continues to be so smitten by him, how they've been so seduced by him. There's a little scrawny broad, a smug scrawny broad by the name of Deborah Orin, who writes inside Washington in the New York Post. Why doesn't she just come out and say, I'm in love with this guy? Why doesn't she just come out and admit it? Every word she writes is talking about how great he is, how much he would shake up the race, how all the other candidates are in fear of him, talking about Bob Kerry or Bill Clinton or Tom Harkin, how they live in dread that he will enter the race. Well, sure, they're in fear of him because of people like Deborah Orin constantly saying how great he is. But a presidential campaign would unmask him. He would have to be unmasked as what he is, a supercilious bully.
Is that Christ was not really born on December 25th. It doesn't matter when Christ was born, because no one knows the exact date anyway. That's not the point. December 25th is the day that Christianity has decided upon, and that's fine with me. And I say to the people out there who delight in bashing the church, if you don't believe in Christmas, don't celebrate it, but leave the rest of us alone. We Christians have our beliefs.
No, you got the wrong idea, pal. Tony, you've misinterpreted. You've misinterpreted. It isn't a question of bashing Christmas for any Christian ramifications. Matter of fact, the bashing, at least as it's come from me, and I have to feel that you're criticizing me along with the others.
You're included.
Yeah, but you haven't been listening. I'm bashing the hypocrisy of it all. I'm bashing the falsity of it all. I'm bashing the fact that Christmas is not supposed to be represented by Santa Claus and reindeer and all of that other stuff. That's pagan.
What you're saying may be right, but you see, it doesn't come across that way. It doesn't come across.
Well, to you, it's all
No,
subjective.
to most people, Bob.
Well, most people have not felt that way. Most people seem to understand what I'm saying.
We have never had this type of thing before. Never.
Never had what type of thing?
This type of bashing of Christianity.
I
Never.
don't think Christianity is being bashed.
Of course it is.
Really?
Of course it is.
Tony, you're a bit on the paranoid side.
I'm not paranoid. You're not receptive enough. You're not.
Hey, Tony, you want to know something? I read a book once that reminds me of you. The title of the book is The Ignorance of Certainty.
Uh-huh.
You are so certain about things all the time.
Well,
it wasn't 2 years ago. It wasn't too long ago. You were saying that Gorbachev was going to try to bury us the same way Khrushchev did.
I never said that.
No, you never said that, huh?
No.
You're the guy that the Soviet Union was gonna wipe us out. We had to be careful of the Soviet Union.
I never said that.
By foot, I remember.
Never said that.
You think I could forget your adenoids? Cut it out, Tony.
Said that, you
Cut it out. Cut it out, Tony.
You know, if your IQ was a point higher, maybe you'd be a friend. You are so stupid.
Tony, you sound like a real Christian now.
I am.
I have to laugh at Gabon. I have to laugh at Gabon hypocrites like you. You call professing you're such a Christian. It didn't take long for you to start calling me names, did it?
Well, of course not. We're not to fight back, you know. We're not supposed to turn the other cheek all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You've never turned the other cheek once in your life.
You're a pompous ass.
Yeah, and what are you? You're a nothing. You're a nothing. You're a loser, Tony.
That's what you are. You're a traitor to your church.
A traitor
Yes.
to my church. Because I don't like the hypocrisy
You're a
involved?
traitor.
That makes me a traitor to my church?
You
Get off my phone, you skiboos. Don't call me anymore, you fake, phony fraud. And he's a coward, too. He wouldn't criticize me directly. He said, I want to criticize these people bashing Christianity. And I had to remind him that he's also criticizing me. He said, yeah, that goes for you. Yeah, fake, Tony.
Yes, Bob. My mother was on the jury at the James Kadatis trial. She was the forewoman, and I just thought I could give you a little insight on it.
Well, then your mother voted to give this skunk the death penalty, didn't she?
No, she didn't.
She didn't? Shame on her.
No, she didn't. Actually, what happens, Bob, is in New Jersey you need a unanimous decision to put a guy to death. And apparently one guy on the jury...
Now, how did your mother vote? How did your mother vote?
To give him the death.
Well, that's what I just said to you.
Yes, it was...
Okay, you said no, she didn't, but she did. She voted for the death penalty.
Yes, it was 11-1.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Let me tell you this about the James Kodetich thing. In the other trial,
yes,
they did vote the death penalty. The Robert Willentz disgrace, known as the New Jersey Supreme Court, which I call the disgrace court, overturned that death penalty.
Yeah, that's...
Because, Kodetich, being a murderer, doesn't just kill somebody and then forget about it. He likes to kill girls, and when he gets out, he'll kill another one.
The problem is that it has to be a unanimous decision. You can get one guy that...
Hey, I'm going to tell you one more time, Rob, whatever.
Yeah.
Tell you one more time. In one case, it was not unanimous. In the other case, it was unanimous, but the Willentz court overturned it.
Right. Somebody up here that knows you, Barbara. You know her?
Oh, Barbara, she's lovely.
ba-ba-booey. ba-ba-booey.
Yeah, see, I knew it. This guy keeps getting through. Oh, well, what are you going to do?
I'm working on a term paper right now. I'm a junior in high school, and I have a couple questions I'd like to ask.
Term paper in what?
Well, part of my history course and my English course.
Oh, wait a minute. What do you mean, sort of? What do you mean, sort of my history course?
No,
sort of my English course?
It's part of it, I said.
Part of?
Yeah. It counts for both of my English course and my history, U.S. history course.
Why in the heck would you call a guy on the radio for something this important to help you do a term paper? Why would you call a guy on the radio?
Because the information I have isn't helping me.
But why would you call a guy on the radio? You think the radio's got information? You think because I'm on the radio, I know more?
Well, I thought that...
Huh? Is that what you think?
Knowledgeable
Because if you think that, then I'm flattered, but you're misguided. I mean, this is too important.
The other day you were talking a lot about the economy.
Talk. What's talk? Talk. Anyway, what is your question?
I'm studying John Maynard Keynes' theories on deficit spending, and
Well, that's not history. That's economics.
Yes, I know, but it has to do with it affects American history. It had a lot to do with the New Deal with FDR, and it had a lot to do with getting us out of the Depression. But it seems like a lot of people have been using his theories and have got us in...
What is your question, Tom? What is your question?
Well, this book that I'm reading says that that the debt really won't empower the future generation because the interest receivers, because they're going to receive
dear me.
They're going to receive the proceeds of...
What is the question, Tom? What is the question?
Do you think that...
Do I think what?
Future generations, the debt, the national debt.
Well, of course future generations are encumbered by the debt. Of course they are. And Keynes had a theory that worked in 1933 because in 1933 we had virtually no inflation whatsoever. Deflation in prices haven't dropped.
Well, they are. They're drastically dropping.
In what?
Retail prices around the globe. I mean, people are suffering.
All right, look, I'm telling you that the prices haven't dropped, and I would like to see them drop. I think that's our problem. I think our problem is that prices just kept going up, and income couldn't possibly match prices going up. They couldn't possibly, take-home income couldn't possibly match it, and people just ran out of money. You know, when a person takes for example, just an example, you take the turnpike, you get out at Lincoln Tunnel, and you take it to exit 11. It used to cost you $1. Now it's $1.70. All those things add up. Flim Flam Florio for New Jerseyites tacked out a $2.8 billion tax increase on top of the increase in the federal government. People just don't have the money.
Well, isn't that what a depression was as well? Wasn't it also a depression? Wasn't that when people didn't have the money, when there were bread lines?
Yeah, but people didn't have the money for different reasons in those days.
25,000 people laid off.
This guy wants to argue with me.
Well, no, This
guy wants to argue with me.
Bob, no,
and Dale, I have no intention of arguing.
No.
You asked me what I thought, and I'm telling you, you can continue thinking whatever you want to think. You asked me what I thought, right?
I asked you what the difference between a depression and a recession was, and you went on to Flim Flam Florio. I don't think that's...
Well, no, I'm just citing why we don't have the money.
Excuse me, I respect you a lot. I listen to your show
daily. Well, that's nice. I'm glad you respect me a lot. You don't have to butter me up. You don't have to butter me up, pal. I don't think we're in a depression right now, and let's hope we don't get into one.
What is the difference? Can you say that?
Well, it's the magnitude of a recession. If the recession gets worse, then we will call it a depression. As long as you're in love with words, you've got my answer.
So
somebody else might give you another answer.
So as it gets worse, after 3 years that we're in it, then it gets worse and worse, and it eventually will become a depression. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think it's going to get worse.
It could. If it did get worse, it could be a depression.
On WABC, guys like him really annoy me. Nitpicking. I despise that type of person. Ladies and gentlemen, that slams lid on things for today, for this week, and for this year. Until January 6th, this is Bob Grant, reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. There are certain people in the United States of America, in this country, a rather eclectic group. Some are so-called clergymen, others are politicians of one kind or another. Many of them are show business figures. They have one thing in common, however, and that is they seem to be against everything the vast, overwhelming majority of American people are for. They seem to find it so easy to support any communist dictator, no matter who he is. These were the same people who supported the Soviet Union, no matter what the Soviet Union did when it existed. These are the same people who supported Daniel Ortega. I said it all a moment ago when I said they will support any communist anywhere especially if that communist is in opposition to the United States of America. And yet these are, for the most part, citizens who benefit much more from our beneficence than you or I do. For example, who wouldn't love to have the money Harry Belafonte has? I'd love to trade him dollar for dollar right now. Bingo. And so would you. And yet Harry Belafonte has supported every communist scum, has been in the vanguard of every anti-American movement since he stopped singing that particular song, or maybe he was doing it even before that. Chris Christopherson, another scumbag commie lover. Margot Kidder, a bitch if there ever was one, who hates America, who demonstrated even against Operation Desert Storm and said it would serve those American soldiers right if they got killed. Yet people go to see her movies. A whole list of people. Representative John Conyers, who hates America. Representative Mervyn Dimley, who hates America. Representative Gus Savage, who in addition to being one of the most virulent anti-Semites on the face of the globe, hates America. The inevitable Ramsey Clark, who hates America. These are just some of the names. There are other names, but Martin Sheen, who hates America. Casey Kasem, who hates America. Ed Asner, who hates America. These are people who have that one thing in common: they hate America. And there are no more communist governments for them to support, except one, outside of China. And what is that one? That's right, Cuba. And so what they are having, they're worried about Fidel Castro, you see. They're worried about him, even though none of them would dare live in Cuba. They're worried that Fidel is going to get toppled. Now, they use the favorite word of the left wing, the favorite word which was taught by Lenin, and that is peace. That's the favorite word. The leftists always say they're marching for peace. Everything is peace. Well, outside of the poor Cubans who are held virtual prisoners by Fidel Castro, there is peace in Cuba. And yet they've come out, this group has come out with the Peace for Cuba, an international appeal committee. And they're going to have a rally at the Jacob Javits Center. And all of these scumbag commie lovers are going to be there. Or most of them will be there. And they say that the reason they're together is to secure peace and halt militarism. Well, whose militarism? To assure respect for the rights of all countries and peoples, to fulfill economic and social justice for all, we declare there must be no military action by the United States or its agents against Cuba. Covert military and economic actions must cease. Economic sanctions against Cuba must be removed. There must be no reprisals or threats against countries trading or having diplomatic relations with Cuba. Travel restrictions must be lifted. The U.S. naval base at Guantanamo Bay must be closed. Cuba's sovereignty must be respected. Relations between Cuba and the U.S. must be normalized. And then these swine, these scum, their names appear below this. Bishop Paul Moore, Bishop Thomas J. Gumbleton, and the aforementioned individuals that I named, plus a few others. I don't see Jane Fonda's name here, which is surprising. It just may have been an oversight. I don't know whether she's on the list or not, but I'm meeting this evening with Jose Ramos to get more details on this. And I want to thank Oscar Rodriguez Moran, the Movement 30th of November, Director, Special Projects of Ridgefield, New Jersey, Mr. Oscar Rodriguez Moran, who says, the first striking characteristic of the document are the names of some of the people endorsing the appeal. Ramsey Clark, Harry Belafonte, Philip Berrigan, Ed Asner, Linus Pauling. I'm quite sure you are more familiar with some of the other people's names. The second characteristic is the language used in the exhortation. President Bush is called the Butcher of Baghdad. The Americans are threatening to use military force in Cuba. In Cuba, education is free through college. Nothing else is said about the lack of freedom, the regime of fear and terror, and so forth and so on. I really wish with every fiber of my existence, that the people who signed this petition, the people who are donating, who are contributing to this fund, I wish each and every one of them could be expelled from the United States immediately. And you suckers who go down to Atlantic City and pay money to see that swine Harry Belafonte, shame on you. You dummies who see a Margot Kidder film, shame on you. A Chris Christopherson film, shame on you. Who have anything to do with that scum, Kasem, shame on you. It's, oh, by the way, William Kunstler, yes, he signed it. Pete Seeger, of course he did. Why is that Pete Seeger going to croak anyway? He's been around for such a long time. Every single concert ever devoted to anything anti-American, he's been involved in. Every time I've seen any kind of thing that had to do with something that was against America, he was there. He's consistent.
This report on the Hollywood left is unbelievable, but we know what's going on here. You know, they want to be the substitute for the defunct Soviet Union, since they know that Cuba is really in trouble now because the Soviet Union isn't there to prop them up. They want these steps taken because they figure it'll give Castro a reprieve. But, you know, Bob, earlier you weren't on the air for 15 minutes when you made known why your voice is so vital in this city. Believe me, you were the only commentator to really tell the truth about what happened at that political brainwashing concert. But, Bob, why should we be surprised at the constant shifting of blame that goes on in the black community? While you were away, the healer, the chief executive of New York City, was busy shifting the blame in his State of the City address for all the decisions and non-decisions that have helped destroy the economics and the morale of this city. Here's a man who's made so many poor financial decisions, and they're all based on his own bigoted type of racist feelings, and including the Nelson Mandela parade, the $2 million that was spent for that. He wanted to change the uniforms of the Department of Traffic enforcement thugs to blue because he thought there was some kind of racial connotation in the word brownies. And he wanted to spend $30,000, Bob, get a load of this, to find the vandals of a mural of Fidel Castro, speaking of Castro, and Daniel Ortega on the Upper West Side. And when a Hispanic man 2 years ago had his house firebombed up in the Bronx, the next day David Dinkins was up there with $10,000 of city taxpayers' money in his hand to help this man rebuild his house. But he didn't have a dime for those Jewish store owners and property owners in Crown Heights and Bensonhurst when his brothers and sisters went on the rampage.
By the way, John, speaking of Crown Heights, I have in my possession literature, flyers that were passed out in the aftermath of the Cato death. That was the name of the 7-year-old who died in the accident.
Yes.
In the automobile driven by Yanko Rosenbaum. Driven by, no, not Yanko Rosenbaum. Driven by, what was his name?
Yanko Rosenbaum was the man that was...
That was the Australian fellow who was killed. But anyway...
Yes.
Joseph Lipsch. Anyway, the flyers that were handed out with the quotations of Sonny Carson are unbelievable. But what's even more disgusting is that the men's room attendant at 21 didn't even condemn those flyers. Didn't see fit to condemn the literature that was handed out.
No.
Which was the most openly anti-Jewish. I've never seen anything, and this includes the Nazis, the real Nazis in 1938 Germany. I've never seen anything more openly anti-Jewish than these flyers were. But because the people who distributed them were black, and because the men's room attendant is beholden to them, and because he look, you have to say this about D.D. Either A, he is so pusillanimous he's afraid to stand up to the racists in his own race, or B, He agrees with them.
Yes, and both are equally bad, Bob. And let's not forget, this is the same man that declared a day for Yusef Hawkins, but didn't even mention Brian Watkins.
Yeah.
And then they have the nerve to use the term lynching.
I thank you for the call, John.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, let's check here with Joe.
How are you? Nice to have you back, Bob. Bob, I just wanted to remind you that the Mario, the forminista's better half, Matilda, went to South Africa with Aaron Belafonte. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, just got
And she was kissing his ass all the way, for heaven's sake.
Probably so.
I mean, this pandering drives me crazy.
I know.
That doesn't mean that American sales have gone up. It means that Japanese sales have cut a lot into the European market. Of course, European automobiles do not perform as well, and they are more costly.
Well, I know you've been to Italy many times, and you go to Italy, and it's Fiat, Fiat, Fiat.
Well,
See?
Fiat, you know what Fiat stands for, don't you?
No.
Fix it again, Tony.
Live interview on KISS FM in which this rapper Heavy D said that security was going to be provided by the members of the Nation of Islam, whatever the heck that is. But I never heard that mentioned.
You know what that is? There's a bunch of bums, ex-cons, guys who are in between sentences, who put on phony baloney discarded usher caps with the brim trimmed off.
Yeah.
And that makes them Muslims. And they couldn't even tell you who Muhammad was. They couldn't even tell you where Mecca is. They couldn't tell you anything about the Muslim religion. Like that jerk that was on earlier. I said, yeah, well, explain the Muslim religion. Tell me something about it. He says, makes you feel better about yourself. Oh, that's it. Oh, okay, all right. You could go to a sauna and feel better about yourself, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
Hi, Bob. It's me, George the Atheist. Welcome back.
George the Atheist.
Bob, I want to make a comment about the cardinal in Israel.
But you know, all you atheists, though, I have to... Robert C. Ingersoll was an atheist.
Who?
Robert Ingersoll.
Yeah.
You never heard of him?
I heard him.
He was born, I think, in 1833, and I think he died in 1899.
Yeah.
I thought you might have heard him because he's the darling. He was an intellectual. He had a keen mind, but even though he was an atheist, he mentioned God many times. It's inevitable that people talk about God.
Well, you know, there's a misconception about atheism that people think that atheists say there is no God. The atheism means without God. The prefix a is a Greek prefix that means without. So God has no meaning for a rational person if you use your mind.
Anyway, George, what is it you wanted to talk about?
Well, okay. Okay. The cardinal is sitting in the prime minister's office now, finally.
You know what? You know what? I find him to be a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
I don't like him.
Yeah, I know. He looks...
No, I really don't like him. I think he's a ham. I think he's a sleazy politician. I liked Terence Cardinal Cook. I liked him.
Yeah, he was a benign guy.
He really was.
Yeah.
He believed in rendering under Caesar that which is Caesar's, etc. But this guy O'Connor, he should have been a Tammany Hall leader. That would have been his speed.
Yeah, he's just kind of a mean-spirited guy.
I don't know if he's mean-spirited, but he's just a sleazy politician.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the point I want to make is, the Catholic Church does not recognize the state of Israel. And I think it's about high time that they do as an institution, because I think there's a certain kind of an inherent institutional anti-Semitism on the part of the Vatican.
Cut it out. Yeah, cut it out. With all the things that John Paul II has said and done, cut it out. Cut it out.
Let me make my point. Do you know that Adolf Hitler died? Yeah, and he was still on the tax rolls of the Catholic Church.
Oh, my God.
Why doesn't the Catholic Church have a post-mortem excommunication of Adolf Hitler?
All right, so we'll put the Catholic Church on trial. Thank you very much,
Okay.
you jerk. You're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, Bob.
Yes.
Listen, I live in Greenwich, Connecticut, and I called you a few years ago when I mentioned that I was a real estate broker. You said, oh, I hate brokers. But I think that you would have a better life if you came up here. We've got Long Island Sound. You get yourself a little boat. That's great serenity. And by the way, you can get movies at the library for 3 movies for 4 days and don't pay for it. Now, would you like me to send my card?
Well, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. This sounds like a proposition here. You want me to move in with you, Liz?
No, I have a husband.
Oh. Well,
otherwise, I would like.
Hey, maybe the spare bedroom. I mean, heck.
Well, yes, you could. While you're looking, you can use our guest room, and we'll see what happens.
Because I got to get out of my condominium. It's run by a bunch of sleazebags.
Well, we've got great condominiums up here, and you can get a good deal because they're less money now than they were a few years ago, as you know. And we've got nifty things. You can drive into New York in 45 minutes. We're right on the Sound.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of little boat clubs, very inexpensive.
Yeah, but you have an income tax now.
Well, it's not that bad. But we're all paying it. But it's a lovely, lovely community to live in. And I'll get you into our little boat club.
Really?
Yep. Do you want me to send you my card?
No.
No? Tell me why.
Because, I just, it's too, I don't care to go to Connecticut. I don't want to be north of New York. I don't want to be east of New York.
You want to be near the Rio Diner.
Huh?
You want to be near your friends at the Rio Diner.
Well, that's true, too.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, well,
it's too bad. We'd like to have you.
But I got to get out of where I am. I hate moving, but I got to get out of there.
Well,
get out of there.
Just leave everything behind and start from scratch.
Really?
Yep. Just take your clothes and go, and the heck with it.
I see.
And, well, I'm sorry. We'd like to have you.
Well, you're a broker. You want to come down and sell my place?
Well, I really can't sell in New Jersey.
That's right. That's right. You don't have that territory.
You've got a broker over there, I'm sure.
I hate brokers. I really do.
I know you told me that a few times.
I mean, what right do they have to take a commission? What right? And
so
much.
Bob, I'll tell you why.
Why?
I work full-time in this business, and I can't tell you how many people I take around and around and around and around, and then they'll go to Westport, they'll go to Fairfield, or they don't come back, and you've spun your wheels, wrecked your car, driven in the snow, put up with their kids, and then they make ridiculously low offers, and then it's goodbye. And we deserve it. We don't all make that much money. If we sell one particular house, yes, we make a nice big fat commission, but you may not see another commission for several months.
Yeah, you're a very classy person. You really are.
You really think so?
I do. I like your voice.
Oh, thank you.
You know, there's so many women's voices that annoy me. They're shrill and nasal, but your voice I like.
Well, see, I'm a New Yorker. I moved up here 15 years ago, and
That's why you have a nice voice, because you're a New Yorker?
No, because there's something about New York people that are very direct.
Well, I wasn't.
They don't sound like little housewives.
Well, You don't have a New York accent, though.
Well, I lived in California. I've lived in Canada.
I despise accents of any kind. You know that.
Oh, I know you do, and so do I.
Okay.
I have very little patience for most women.
Liz?
Very little.
I thank you. Don't make it 4 years till your next call.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Bye. On WABC, let's say hello to Alfred. Alfred, hello. Arlette, you're on WABC. Hello.
Mr. Green, I'd like to ask you about...
By the way, this is Monday. Remember, Arlette's calling today. Just once a week, Arlette. Don't try to sneak in. Don't try to sneak in more than once a week like you usually do.
I understand.
Because with a dumb name like Arlette, you stand out like a sore thumb. Go ahead. What a dumb name. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't ask for it. I was given it.
Well, why don't you change it to something like, let's see, Arlette Toilet. How about Toilet?
Why don't you ask Henry Spallone who I am? He knows me.
All right. Hey, Henry Spallone, who's Arlette? Oh, really? She was good at one time? Oh, okay. He says you were really good at one time years ago.
I'm sure he's not there.
What would you like to say, Arlette?
Speaking of non-Brookers Plaza, I got so aggravated today watching it with that incident with those kids got killed. Right away, the blacks are blaming the police. God forbid they blame the bum that sold 10,000 tickets for 500 seats. Right away, they're blaming the police, as if these kids got killed at the policeman's ball.
That's a good line. That's a good line.
You know, as if it was a policeman's ball he got killed at. And that bum consular's up there, and he's blaming the police. And some other pig from a rap group, Letitia something from a rap group, they're blaming the police. God forbid they put the blame where it belongs.
Hey, this is Jake down from Long Island. Listen, I want to talk to you about the Chancellor Joe Fernandez's home. Hello?
Yeah, we ought to talk about it since we pay so much to...
Okay. I'm a New York City school teacher. I'm a health education teacher. Now, let me tell you something. My sources, people who I know who are working on this, have told me, and this is fact, that the total cost of this home with renovations now has exceeded $3 million.
I believe it.
Okay?
I believe it.
Now, let me tell you another story. I have a classroom where I teach health education in Queens, okay?
6 or 7 window panes knocked out of my windows. Nobody will fix these window panes. We have plexiglass, plastic bags, and newspaper covering up windows. We cannot fix these windows in my room, but this man could have $3 million in renovations on his home. And do you know why this is?
Because his name is Fernandez.
Because there is a deal made between Joe Fernandez and my union president, Sandra Feldman, to give this man whatever he wants. And I want to know how come nobody says anything. Why isn't something done?
You know, at the time they were importuning him to leave Miami. By the way,
he's a fraud.
That was a great gift he gave Miami, his departure, that is.
He promised them when he got his contract he's not going to leave.
And he came up here after being importuned, bribed to come up here. And I said at the time, what has this guy got? What is he going to do?
Nothing.
That makes him so valuable, that makes the attendant want to so badly to get him up here. The guy must really be a miracle worker. Well, he did prove he's a miracle worker. He proved that you can get the most absurd program in the history of American education and have people take it seriously. And I'm talking about the condom program.
Yeah, well, that's interesting.
And that's his contribution. That's his contribution to the demise, the disintegration of education in New York.
Yeah.
ABC, let's say hello to Don. Don, hello to you.
Bob, how are you?
What's on your mind, Don?
Well,
I mean, really on your mind.
I'm sorry?
What's really on your mind? I find it difficult to believe a person would take the time, spend the money to call a radio talk show host just to ask him, Bob, how are you?
Well, that was my opening line.
An opening line. What do you need an opening? You already said hello.
Okay. I was,
Rich, you're at WABC. Hello. Are you there, Rich? Yeah.
How are you? I know, the golden rule, I just broke it. I apologize.
Martin, you're on WABC. Hello. Martin, you want to talk?
Yes, hi. I disagree.
You all right? Are you all right, Mark? You sound like you're in an oxygen tent.
My phone could be a little broken.
I see.
Yes, I disagree with you about the cars and...
You disagree with me about the cars? About what?
About copying the cars from Japan, because I think if you copy the cars of Japan, they'll be like 2 years later, and they won't have any worth.
Thank you very much, pal. I hope you get better. Craig, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hi, Bob. How are you? You know, just a little...
I got to get out of here. Really, I can't take it. I can't take it. One, how are you, after another. How you doing? How are you? I got to get out. I can't stand it.
Come on, that's not...
come on. What's on your mind? Matthew, hello.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
What do we got? Another guy from the car for crying out loud?
No, it's a portable phone.
Oof, these people calling from cars. I'm sick of them.
No, it's a portable phone.
Okay. Of the 11th inning for the Boston Red Sox, Mike Kachapoli. Anyway, all right. Lose 10 pounds free at Nutri-System, ladies and gentlemen. This is the last week. Lose the weight you hate. Change your size at Nutri-Size. Stop busting those buttons. Stop busting those zippers. Lose your excuse. Lose your bad habits. Open your mind and win back your body. Call Nutri-System now and lose 10 pounds free. Now, batting. Maldonado, Jack Maldonado. Oh, he fell down. All right, let's get out of the stadium and back here to the studio.
Interested in what you were saying earlier. It's funny. I'll really hit the point here, but it's funny how you talk about consumer ripoff and how you talked about the markdowns of prices in the jewelry industry and jewelry industry, and you talked about it in the auto industry. But I'd like to ask you, Bob. I'd like to ask you about an industry that you probably know a lot about. Now, what would you say?
This ought to be good, folks. Wherever we're going, this ought to be good.
Bob,
this guy's as obvious as a 10-ton truck.
Bob, what would you say the markdowns are like in the hairpiece industry? You. turn me on. You really, really turned me on, Bob. It's been a while, Bob.
You little faker, get off my phone. Eddie, you're at WABC. Hello.
Bob, would you say that homosexuality is contrary to nature?
Of course it's contrary to nature.
Bob, would you say that...
Oh, gee, what are we going with here? Would you say? Would you say?
That
would you say? Could you say? Should you say?
Is celibacy contrary to nature?
Is celibacy contrary to nature? Yes.
Would you say...
Would you say?
That all these Catholic priests that are celibate are in the same league as homosexuals?
No.
Why not?
Well, we're talking about two kinds of situations here. I don't know what... It's like an epidemic lately where people are making totally invidious comparisons in the percentage of the population, but that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it natural. It isn't natural. If you use your imagination and contemplate the act of people of the same sex having sexual contact, you realize that it's not natural.
Bob, it just seems...
So what is your point here? What are you trying to prove?
I'm trying to prove that homosexuality is natural.
Are you a homosexual?
Everyone is. I can prove it to you.
Sick. What a sickie.
Yes, Mr. Grant, I would like, if it's possible, to have a conversation with you without you getting mad and hanging up on me. Just moments ago, I heard you say that you honestly sit there and think that homosexuality is contrary to nature. Are you God, Mr. Grant? Did you create the universe?
I don't believe I did, although in a weak moment I may have. What kind of stupid question is that? You don't have to be God to make judgment on something as obvious as that.
Well, the bottom line is, you know what, Bob Grant, you need a nice stiff one in you, Bob Grant. That's what you need.
I need what?
You need a nice stiff one in you. That's what you need. You shock me with what you say. You are disgusting. You just think you're it, don't you? You need a nice stiff one in you, Bob. Say it. Say, I need a stiff one in me. Because that's what you need.
I don't believe what I hear.
You know
something? I don't believe what I hear.
You know something?
I don't believe this guy.
You turn me on. You really, really turn me on.
Oh,
like
dear me. 29 minutes past 6:29.
Hi, Bob. As a physician, I will take the liberty of saying, how are you? And I heard your conversation yesterday about palpitations, and I heard your relationship between caffeine, specifically coffee, and palpitations.
But you see, the left, whether it's the left in the United States or the left in South Africa, they all operate the same way. You take this fellow Paul Simon, who used to be part of the team Simon and Garfunkel.
Right.
He was doing a concert which really had as a great aspect of it trying to help the people of South Africa. And yet, because a left-wing black group does not approve of him, they have bombed an office associated with Paul Simon. They have threatened physical violence. They have warned him that they couldn't be responsible for what would happen to him. These are people who really don't believe in democracy. They don't believe in the things you and I believe. They believe that if you don't march in lockstep with them and do as they tell you, they will destroy you.
But you know what Paul Simon will probably do? For the next donation, he'll probably add a couple more zeros.
Well, that's right. Instead of Paul Simon saying, you dogs, you rats, he's going to kiss their tush. You'll see.
There were some of the comments that the gentleman from the Anti-Defamation League spoke to you about.
All right.
He was against any open debate by the universities reference to Holocaust. Before I say what I'm going to say, I want to say I do believe that there was a Holocaust. I don't see how anybody could not believe there was a Holocaust. I think that would probably be the biggest hoax in the entire history of the world if that were not true. But in the meantime, why is he against open debate? It's people like him that are constantly putting the Holocaust in front of the American people through television programs, through Holocaust programs. Why is he against once somebody is questioning it, but when they're constantly talking about the Holocaust? And my second point is the following.
Well, you're contradicting yourself. You sound a bit hypocritical here. You say you accept the facts of the Holocaust.
I do.
And yet you say, well, why is he? You have admitted
Bob,
You have admitted that you accept it. What is there to debate, for heaven's
No,
sake?
wait a minute.
We might as well debate whether the Earth is flat or round.
Bob, you're not listening.
I am listening, and that's why I'm responding, because you sound insincere. Gene, you sound insincere to me.
Yeah, but let me make a point. Let me make a point. Let me make a point.
Yeah.
I didn't say that I want the debate. I'm saying why should not the youth that never were anywhere near the Holocaust or never even heard about it or witnessed it or were in that age, why are they not allowed to debate it? Those are the people.
Well, nobody said they weren't allowed to
Well,
debate
he's
it.
against it. He said it's horrendous.
What he said, don't take things out of context. He said the idea that they want to reopen it, that they want to re-examine it, is preposterous. And you know what? I agree with him. We got 6 million people, or 5,800,000 certified dead, and what is there to discuss?
Well,
that maybe some of them got up and walked away. Some of them got up and walked away?
In other words, what you're saying, because Bob Grant agrees with him and he agrees with him, nobody can debate.
Yeah, but you said you agreed too.
I do agree.
Except you're a fake, a phony, a fraud.
No.
You're a fake, phony fraud. Why don't you admit it?
How about my second point?
What's your second point? The one on top of your head?
My second point. My second point is that when people claim that they're discriminated against and people are prejudiced against, how come I never hear any of the leaders of these groups say, what are we doing? What are we doing to cause people to be prejudiced against us?
In other words, what you're saying is prejudice is justified.
No, I'm not saying that.
You're not?
No, I'm not.
Well, you know, if you want to define prejudice, that is to Wait a minute. Hey, fake! Hey, fake! What you're saying is,
Bob,
you know what prejudice
Bob,
is?
You're the fake in the phone.
Really? Then why do you call me? Why do you call me then? I wouldn't waste my time with a fake and a phony. That's why I'm not going to waste my time with you, because you're a fake and a phony. See, guys like him really, really annoy me, because he tries to present himself as one thing, but his words betray him.
Get back.
That slams the lid on things for today. Until tomorrow at 3 o'clock. This is Bob Grant reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. Kill Saddam Hussein. Kill Fidel Castro. You may have heard reference to Il Supremo made on this broadcast because he gave his State of the State speech up in Albany. You know, he's lost some of his, he lost something that I never thought he would lose. He lost a little bit of his acting ability. He didn't perform quite as well today. I'm not talking about what he said, because what he said was a lot of garbage. I'm talking about his delivery, which has always been of Academy Award-winning quality. But today, he was a little strident, even for him. He was shouting too much. But Il Supremo's spending and taxing machine has been a disaster for the state. Fiscal year 1983, his first year. Total state spending, $26.4 billion. Fiscal 1992, $53.2 billion. And yet, there were some federal grants. New York received $6.8 billion in 1983, $15.1 billion will receive $15.1 billion in 1991. I don't have to go through the whole litany, but if you live in New York, it costs you more for things. You're taxed more than anywhere else. And there is no evidence that Il Supremo's or any other state's massive budget deficits have to do with a shortage of federal aid, but everything to do with an excessive spending. As a matter of fact, an analysis by the very respected Cato Institute shows that with only two exceptions, the 10 states with the biggest deficit problem had a spending growth well above the average. And of course, the rapid New York State spending growth was fueled by the expansion, which Il Supremo loves to trash. I'm talking about the Reagan expansion, which Il Supremo loves to trash. He can't have it both ways anyway. You may want to address that, but...
Yeah, Mr. Grant, I like your honesty, first of all.
And isn't it ironic, though, that Mr. Bush, a few months ago, said that America need not apologize to the Japanese for bombing them, but yet he is crawling over there to an island that's not even as big as Texas, killing himself, begging for what?
Well, one has nothing to do with the other. At a press conference, the reporter asked him if he thought we should apologize for Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
And he said there's no need.
And he said no, and the vast majority of American people agreed with it.
Could it be true that what Malcolm X said about white folks being the devil and that their reign will soon end one day? And
well, it's something nice for a guy like you to sit around and think about.
Well, yeah.
What are you going to do with all us white folk? How are you going to get rid of us?
Well, like how you're begging right now to the Japanese, maybe one day.
No. How are you going to get rid? He's representing the.
First of all,
hey, you know what I don't understand? You know what I don't understand about scum like you? Here's what I don't understand about scum like you. You are an American citizen. You live in America. The fortunes of America really not only will affect me, but they will affect you. If things get worse, they will affect you. If things get better, they will affect you one way or another. And yet you talk as though you live in a foreign country, as though you're an outsider. You prove the point that there's a small element of the black community that long ago has declared war on the rest of us. And I just want to point out that it is my sincere belief, I'm not just saying this, but my sincere belief that you represent a minority of a minority. If you didn't, then there would indeed be serious trouble. But you're scum, John. You call from Newark all the time with the same crap. You know what, John? Your punishment? Look in the mirror, John. Look at the mirror. Tell me if you really like what you see looking back at you.
Telling the black people, Hispanics, and whites that we have to unite and stop fighting and killing each other because...
And that's the way you do it?
Yeah, well, you have to listen to it. If you ever
what do you time... That's the way you do it, huh? What do you mean killing each other? What are you talking about killing each other?
Just like, for instance, with the racial incidents that we have in New York as well as in New Jersey, that, it's not necessary for all of the violence,
Thank you for the call, pal. Guy responded to the advertisement. They said they needed a toilet cleaner around here, and Dave, it was mistaken. He was mistaken, and so he decided as long as he was here, he'd pick up the phone. Hello, Frank. You're on WABC with Bob Grant.
Yes, Bob?
Yes, Frank.
Bob, I was watching that hate monger on, what's his name there, Chuck D from Public Enemy. This lowlife, this subhuman, is like all of his vile, loathsome ilk. He is a coward because he cannot come out and admit to what he is really saying. Bob, if you listen to this kind of human garbage, the remark they'll always say, their defenders also, is, it was taken out of context, or I wasn't there, so I can't really comment on it. This anti-Semitic scum was on that other hate toward Gil Noble. And when Gil Noble asked him about his lyrics, and I don't call it rap, I call it crap, about the Jews being the chosen people, he said, well, I don't like any other people call themselves the chosen people. This anti-Semitic filth. I want to know why the mayor of this city, who will always say things are taken out of context. The mayor of this city who said in that alleged, and it's only alleged, attack Monday on those two children, said, Bob, that there's not a rock big enough for those perpetrators to hide under. Do you remember those words?
Yes, indeed.
Yes, well, you know what, Bob? If you're a constituent of David Dinkins, it's a very big rock. Where are the rock that the 19 are hiding under who slaughtered Yanko Rosenbaum? It's a very big rock, Bob. I want to know, where are the 10 mutants who went into a Korean grocery store with ski masks over their head, slashed the owner, beat up his wife, and trashed his store? It's a very big rock, Bob. And where are the murderers of poor Israel Rosen who beat him to death in Kingston, Boston Avenue in 1986. It's a very big rock, Bob, if you're a constituent of the men's room attendant at 21. Thank you.
Okay, Frank. Vintage Frank, right here on WABC. It's all changed for a variety of reasons. And then the specter of the government constantly stirring up trouble. For example, wasn't bad enough they turned the cities inside out and made a mess of the urban school system with this cockamamie forced busing. Now they've ruined the cities. Now they want to ruin the suburbs. Now they're saying, hey, you know what? There are enough white kids in the city schools to go around, so we're going to have to reach out to the suburbs. They are never satisfied. They constantly are ruining things, are spoiling things, and the American people let them get away with it. When are we going to stand up and say, enough already? I just don't understand it.
It used to be at one time one good person could make a difference, but anymore it doesn't matter how many. I think we've lost the battle.
Well, it's true. We really have. Actually, what the Bob Grant Show is, for the most part, is a kind of flamboyant eulogy with a little humor thrown in. But for the most part, this is a eulogy. This is a requiem for what was once a great nation, a great city, the greatest city in the world, and the greatest state of the Union. But this is a requiem for that. That's all gone, being replaced by a subculture that does not have its roots in the culture that you and I know of, and so many other people do. Audrey, it's Don checking in right. Hello, Don.
This is Don calling home.
Uh-oh.
Well, first, before we get into anything, that gentleman you just spoke to was a very eloquent young man, and he should be commended. Very rare to find a man with such class as that young man.
You're talking about Stan?
That's right.
Okay.
I was certainly not talking about you. This business with this John Gotti I just heard, well, I hope you don't feel the same way about me.
No, you're in the big ball Castellano school. You have style. You're a gentleman.
That's right.
When they put the cuffs on you, you're very cooperative.
Well, I fold up. That's right. I take my cufflinks off every time they do it. This business with John Gotti, well, everybody has a problem. He's a little tense once in a while. He speaks very highly of you.
Oh?
Well, on a ladder. Mostly on a ladder. But the thing is that this business, I want to say that you got a lot of guts. You're out there, and you tell it like it is. You're not afraid of nobody. In fact, one would say that you might be connected.
Connected? Well, it could be. As a matter of fact, I might be connected. Maybe that's why I talk the way I talk, because I know the right people.
Oh, it goes without saying, and you got me behind you if there's any time there's ever a problem. Just ring me at any time you want.
You don't know anything about Canyon Woods, do you?
Well, I'd rather not discuss that matter right now, but I know you know about it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't want to take much of your time because I know you're a very busy man, and you just keep punching for the Americans, and remember, the old-time gangsters were fun.
It goes without saying.
It goes without saying. Stop the ball.
Okay, there he goes. Don Corleone. Right now, it's packed. We are surrounded by weirdness. And as you heard, up in the state of Connecticut, Hartford, the state capital, they have announced that Connecticut no longer has any illegal aliens, at least according to the State Department of Income Maintenance's new terminology. From now on, illegal aliens will be called non-citizens. The Income Maintenance Department made the decision. Now, that's a fancy title for welfare. They made the decision because the term alien sounds like someone from outer space. Well, long before we thought of people from outer space, people from foreign lands who were not citizens were called aliens. Look it up. Anyway, some broad by the name of Claudette Bellew made that announcement. She says, we're talking about human beings. The phrase alien sounds very inhuman. She's been watching too many Star Trek episodes. Anyway, the new term may not exactly roll off the tongue, but department officials say it's an improvement worth rewinding. Get out of here. Get out of here. Anyway, we're surrounded by craziness. Absolute craziness.
I'm calling about that incident in the Bronx there where the two kids got beat up.
Yes.
That's a hoax, Bob.
It's a hoax?
Sure, it's a hoax. The kids, they made that up at the instigation of their mother.
Well, how could you be so sure?
I'm positive, Bob.
Well, how can you be so positive? I asked this guy, how can you be so sure? He says, well, I'll tell you how, because I'm positive. How can you be so positive? Because I'm certain. How can you be so certain? Because, come on, offer me some proof.
Did you watch the...
offer me some proof, pal.
Did you watch the reports on NEW last night?
You mean there were reports on WNEW on Channel 5?
Channel 5.
Channel 5 said it was a hoax?
No.
Oh.
No, and on WABC, when they interviewed the woman who's the alleged mother in this alleged incident.
Thank you for the call, pal.
Be happy to pay for your bill. Obviously, you've never had salmonella poisoning.
Well, first of all, I very rarely eat eggs. That's number one. Very rarely. And when I do, I don't eat them in that manner.
It wasn't Florio.
What?
It wasn't Florio that was...
Florio could have...
It was the health department.
Florio could have vetoed it. No, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely stupid.
Anyway, my real question was, how come not one Republican in New Jersey voted for the tax repeal? Isn't that interesting?
Well,
that was their whole campaign.
Well, no, wait a minute. Don't get smart. The fact of the matter is, the Democrats lost heavily because they fobbed off this big tax bill on the people of New Jersey, and they said they voted for it because it was necessary. Now these same phonies who said it was necessary now want to repeal it. Well, that didn't work. That trick didn't work. However, come the 14th, Chuck Hatayan takes over in the Assembly, and the Republicans take over in the state Senate. And then we'll see what they do. In the meantime, Joan, you're working the wrong side of the street. I think most of the guys looking for a cheap hooker are on the other side of the street.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
That's it. I got to keep my word. I zapped her. She said, how are you? I zapped her. Sorry, but I have to keep my word. I said, anybody says, how are you? Anybody today who says, how are you? How you doing? I'm not even going to talk to them.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think you're a fake and a phony. You just want to get me riled up. That's what you want to do. No. But for your information, Steve, there is nothing more ludicrous than the fact that a national holiday has been declared for that bum Martin King. And the members of the United States Senate, the United States Congress who voted for it, with rare exception, in their heart of hearts didn't believe that there should be a day in honor of this jerk. And I only wish that they would open up the files which they've ordered sealed for 75 years. Why? Here we're having a national day in honor of a guy, a national day, and they seal the files. Isn't that incredible? By the way, for your information, George Washington does not have a day in his honor anymore. He was born on February 22nd, that's true. And up until recently, when America was America, February 22nd was observed as George Washington's birthday. But now he has to share that with 40 other individuals because it's now called President's Day. And as far as your remark about Columbus Day, Columbus Day doesn't really honor Columbus. It honors the event, the discovery of America. So, Steve of Mount Vernon, you putrid little punk, get off my phone!
With the old repair place. And this myth about the Japanese cars being reliable is so ridiculous it isn't funny. Last week there was a Toyota in, had 2 broken axles, $600. They require frequent tune-ups all the time because they have a very high-speed engine that runs a tremendous speed, and it requires a lot of tune-ups. And God forbid, if you have a minor crash with those cars, they become a total. And the whole thing, I think, is a myth that was perpetrated. I have a 68 Chevy that's still running. And,
you said a lot of nice things before, and I suppose I should be a little more tolerant of you. But what you're saying is obviously a minority report because overall and I hate to say it, overall, the Japanese cars have won the reliability contest, the quality control contest, over and over again.
Well, I don't see that their repair record is any better or any worse than most American cars from when I see the tickets that I process.
Well,
they're in there for the same things the American cars are.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that, especially on a day when General Motors has had to announce a recall of a lot of cars. You aware of that?
Yes, and if you look in Ralph Nader's sheets of consumers reports, you see their cars get recalled too. You just don't hear any big publicity about it.
Thank you for the call.
Right.
Lenny trying to fudge the truth a little bit, but he obviously has a vested interest.
I have some comments with regard to the JFK film that was recently put out. And,
yes.
Quite a few of your callers have been commenting about it as far as the cover-up. I listened to the congressman, and that's what really prompted my call. My background is in forensic science, specifically crime scene reconstruction. I have a lot of firearms identification and ballistics background, and did work many years ago with a professor who studied in great detail the John F. Kennedy assassination, Martin Luther King, and Robert F. Kennedy. It's appalling to know what the government does in concealing evidence. It not only holds true for the JFK assassination, it also holds true for current cases. Any time that the police or FBI, now my background is law enforcement, I'm probably going to get some calls from friends on this, but their desire is to complete their caseload. Let's get the evidence pointed in one direction and railroad it or follow it through right to that one individual, regardless of any other evidence or circumstances that arise. And with regard to the JFK assassination, you're dealing with the theory that Oswald was the lone shooter. Now, that was reported in the Warren Commission report, which was an utter, a mockery. Them relying solely on...
Well, I think that's a strong word to say it was a mockery.
Well, they relied solely on the theory that there was a...
26 volumes, all these investigators that worked on it. I don't approve of the word mockery.
Well...
Anyway, what is your theory?
Oh, there was definitely at least two, possibly three shooters.
We go from theory to the guy saying definitely.
Well, there's definitely two shooters. There's definitely two.
It's your theory, Mark. Your theory is that it's two shooters.
No, my theory is it's possibly three, but it's definitely two.
How can you say it's definitely two?
You've got a shooting from the sixth floor window. That's irrefutable. And you also have a shot coming from the grassy knoll.
How do you know a shot came from the grassy knoll?
Well, given the background that I have with...
cut it out with the background. You're nobody. You're just some guy calling the program, trying to fob yourself off as a... I caught the beginning when you started talking. Oh, I'm a forensic. I deal in forensic. Forensic what?
Forensic document examination and crime scene reconstruction. My curriculum vitae.
But did you do any reconstruction of this thing?
Yes, we did.
You? What do you mean we?
We did as students when we worked for the professor that evaluated the evidence, and then we saw duplicates of the Bruder film and certain evidence that was revealed in the Warren Commission report.
You know, guys like you have been coming out of the woodwork. Guys like you have been coming out of the woodwork over and over and over again.
Bob, you don't know my background, so don't comment.
But I know you, and I know how absurd you sound. I know you from what you're saying right now.
Okay.
And what you're saying right now is pompous. It's presumptuous.
Correct. That's absolutely incorrect. If you understood.
Don't give me that if you understood stuff.
Well, then
don't give me that if you understood.
You asked my opinion as to why I felt the shot came from behind the grassy knoll.
What is
and yet you've not allowed me to finish that.
I asked you what your theory was, and you said, well, definitely there was one shooter, possibly three. There were two shooters, possibly three.
That's correct.
And you can't say definitely there were two shooters.
There are definitely two shooters. Okay? Definitely two shooters.
No, it's not okay. It's not okay.
Would you hear why?
It's not okay, because people who have far more credentials in this actual case than you have said it's not
like
two
Dr.
shooters.
Cyril Wecht. Dr. Cyril Wecht, coroner for the county of Pittsburgh in Allegheny County.
You are not using facts. You can give us your theory anytime you want, pal. So give it. But don't try to confuse the listening audience listening to you that you're coming up with facts. and the head will fall back. It doesn't go forward automatically.
Oh, no, you're incorrect there. You are incorrect there.
Yeah, listen, Leslie Gelb had a report the other... guys like you make me sick. Guys like you make me sick. You're so determined to prove something that you don't... You know, facts don't mean a thing to you. They don't mean a thing to you. First of all, if he was shot from the front, how come the back of his head had the wound, huh?
Well, there was never the back of the head was a exit wound. Was not an entrance.
Oh, well, how come there's no entrance wound then? How come just an exit wound?
They were taken with Dr. Cyril Weck, and they were made available to a professor in New York State who's world-renowned with regard
Yeah, what's the professor's name?
Herbert Leon MacDonald.
Well, we'll have to call him. We'll have to call him because I wouldn't take the word of a twerp like you any day and twice on Sunday.
That's real good, Bob. You know my background extensively.
You're a twerp. You're a twerp.
Right. I really appreciate talking.
You're a real twerp. You're a nobody twerp trying to make something out of nothing. You're trying to make something for yourself.
I'm not trying to make anything for myself. All I'm trying to do is make a comment.
Is McDonald listening to you? Is he going to grade you on this call?
No, that was 15 years ago.
Well, 15 years ago.
That's correct.
You went through this 15 years ago, and you remember it like it was yesterday.
I was involved in law enforcement for the last 15 years. That's right.
What does that mean, involved in law enforcement? What does that mean?
As an expert witness.
As an expert witness?
That's correct.
In other words, you were a witness for hire.
No, I was a witness as I worked for...
No, my foot, you were a witness for hire.
No, I worked for police laboratories, state laboratories. All right.
But you see what you're doing here? What you're doing here is you're trying to say, because you did that work, therefore you're an authority on the autopsy of the JFK assassination.
I'm not saying I'm an authority. I'm just offering my opinion and my comments.
No, you're not. You're not, because before I said, okay, what's your theory? And you weren't content to give me your theory. You had to say, well, it's fact. And that's why you and I have this impasse.
Well,
because you wouldn't tell me what your theory is. You want to tell me it's fact.
We have an impasse because you don't have the credentials to support your feelings as to why
we have an impasse because I asked you for a theory, and you want to tell me you have fact. And you don't have fact.
It is a fact, and that's something that you fail to recognize. Is a fact.
Well, why is it that so many other people fail to recognize it too? It isn't just
bloodstained pattern interpretation. Bloodstained pattern interpretation, as it's called, was not available to the investigators at the time of the Kennedy assassination. Plain and simple. Dr. Paul Kirk was a founder of bloodstained pattern interpretation, and the industry or the research with regard to that just began in the late 1950s. It wasn't taken into any formalized educational process until the 70s. You're commenting on my background, and you don't know me. You don't know what my background is. I'm sure you've heard of the Gene Harris case, the Scarsdale diet doctor. Well, Herbert McDonald worked on that case.
Well,
I did as well.
What do you want to do? You want to have whatever Herbert McDonald's credentials are. You want to have them rub off on you?
No, I don't. I'm not in the
I'm not talking to McDonald. I'm talking to you.
That's correct, and I'm not in forensics at this point.
All right. So you say it's fact there were two shooters and possibly three. Okay, that's what you have to say, right?
Well, yeah.
ABC, hello.
Yes, about the Bob Grant sterilization program. Would you...
Wait a minute. Hold it. What's your real name? Now, you keep switching names. Every time you call, you give different names. Why do you give different names every time you call?
Because when I give you my real name, you hang up on me. Want me to give you my real name again?
Yes.
My name is Shlomo.
Now, come on. Give your real name.
All right. My real name is... You hang up on me. I'm sure you will. Is Laszlo.
Okay, Laszlo. What do you want to say?
Okay. First of all, this Bob Grant sterilization program. Would you advocate a program that would advocate sterilization of Jews? How could you do that?
Well, no, I'm not talking about sterilizing anybody because of their race or religion. I'm talking about a program that would implant a Norplant in the arm of a welfare recipient who has already had one child out of wedlock.
Oh, hold it right there. What about if you were Hasidic and you had 13 children? How about them?
Well, if they're on welfare, I think that we should have the right to preclude them from having further pregnancies until they get off welfare.
How about if they have strabismus, their left eye pulls to the left? How about them?
I don't understand what you're trying to say.
I'm trying to say that you have no right to advocate sterilizing anyone.
I can advocate anything I want. This is the United States of America.
I'm saying Kaddish for you. I heard you cough. I hope you die tonight. My God, die tonight. I'm saying Kaddish for you. Vega Haggett.
Well, he hung up. He's saying Kaddish. He's not even Jewish. He would. Hey, let me see something. Okay. All right.
What happened to your national show?
Good question. I'll tell you what happened to the national show. The two principals of the of the company putting it together seemed to have had some kind of a disagreement, some kind of a falling out, and lo and behold, they didn't follow through. So there is no national show, which is okay with me because I've got 4 hours instead of 3 now, Monday through Friday. Come Saturday, I've had it. So, quite frankly, that's what happened to the national show.
Well, I'm really glad because you're a racist bastard.
On WABC. Oh, dear me. With that, she hung up. I did not hang up on her. I did not hang up on her. If she were important, I might get upset. Oh, you're being... this isn't even your right voice. It isn't even your right name. You're practicing for a role off Broadway. What's your real name? And let me hear your real voice.
You're a racist. 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 You're a racist.
Can you believe this guy?
You're a racist.
He's on a swing going back and forth.
You're a racist. You're a racist. You're a racist. You are a racist. You're a racist.
Oh, you broke the cadence, Leon.
You are a racist. You are indeed a racist. You deny you're a racist. You are a racist. You're a white supremacist. You're a savage.
Yeah. By the way, you're white too, aren't you?
Columbus.
You're white too, aren't you, Leon?
Hey.
You're just doing shtick,
Hey,
Leon.
what about Columbus?
You're just doing shtick, Leon, and you're not really funny anymore. You're starting to crack up. You're losing it. Carol, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hi, Bob.
Can you imagine I get paid for this, Carol? Isn't that stupid?
Can you imagine I had to sit and listen to you in my ear? I've been holding on for an hour.
You're a racist. I'm going to hear that all night long. You're a racist. You're a racist. You're a racist. Okay, at least the guy knows what I am. Go ahead, please.
Hi.
Hi, Bob. How are you? Bob, I'm listening to all this, and I'm taking it in, and I still believe in one nation, under God, indivisible, and, on those $20 bills it says, in God we trust. So, my generation, I'm 38, has never believed in anything, such as racism or such as hatred that the Ku Klux Klan and other violent political organizations sponsor in this country, and they're instigating hatred in our streets, such as the violent movies. But what can I do? From my perspective, you see, I'm here, with my family, and I'm worried, and I get nervous, but, it's still, we're not getting a statement, from the president or even from the mayor, something that has to do with God, so that people maybe, at least will avoid getting themselves involved in these, racist, painting black children white and taking, young children and using them for pornography. It's not that we're, off course. It's just that, I don't know exactly, where we are in terms of the way we stand, with the people and our families. We're all created equal. I could only go by what's, obvious to me, and what has been handed down, throughout history.
Would somebody please send a translation of what this guy just said? On WABC, it's 29 minutes past 5. Let's say hello to Emmanuel. Hello.
Hey, Mr. Grant, how are you? I know you're short on time. I'm going to try to get as much as I can in, but if possible, I would like to come on after the news. I'm calling to try in some way to clarify to your white or Caucasian listeners. I know you don't like to be called Caucasian, so I'll call you white.
I don't care what you... I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem, Emmanuel.
Okay.
I don't have a problem at all.
Well, that's wonderful. Okay. Yeah, I just want to try to clarify.
What are you, an emissary? Are you an emissary from Uganda or something here?
Emissary.
You sound like you're some...
New Yorker.
You sound like you're some emissary.
I've been in New York all my life.
I'm going to give advice to your white or Caucasian callers. What is all this? What is all this?
No, you had a gentleman called a couple of calls ago in reference to, I'm going to use the expression, the N-word. I'm going to use the other word by itself separately. And at that time, that'll be the only time I'll use it. This gentleman was trying to describe what black people consider the N-word, you understand, and how they look at the N-word. There's a word that you use frequently. Is it not cagazote? Cagazote is a lazy, worthless, do-nothing person, correct?
No, it's a coward.
Well, what's the difference? Okay, well, a coward. Okay, now, would you consider Mario Biaggi a cagazote?
No.
You wouldn't consider him? Okay, good.
No, he's not a cagazote.
Okay, let me see. Now, cagazote.
You're trying to change the whole issue here. That's what I noticed about people of your persuasion. You try to double talk. You try to make black white and white black, and most whites that you argue with are so afraid of you, so intimidated by you, they pretend like they agree with you.
No.
Well, I don't pretend. I think you're an idiot.
Let me try to clear this up for you, okay? Now, the word nigger is used
what a
between
stupid
black people.
thing to be talking about.
I'm just talking about because I tuned into you a few minutes ago, and I heard this man, I don't know what you were talking about earlier, but I heard this man make this statement in reference to what the N-word meant. You understand what I'm saying? And to me, this man was completely wrong. That has nothing to do, and I see that you also saw that has nothing to do, excuse me, with what the word nigger means. You understand? That's the last time we use it.
You mean suddenly it means something else?
It does mean something else.
Wasn't that long ago? All right, so what is your point here?
Okay, my point is that the term, the N-word, you understand, is used among black people. And I don't condone it. I don't agree with it. But there's a reason that people use this word. There's an explicit reason why they use it. The same way you use the word to describe people as a cagazote. You understand? You use it go.
All right, I can't stand the suspense.
It's part of the slang.
I can't stand the suspense when one black uses it on another. What does it mean? Let us in on the secret. What does it mean?
Okay, I'm going to let you know what it is. First of all, you know what the N-word meant.
This guy doesn't want to tell us.
In the original N-word, the N-word was the slowest, the worst kind of person that was given, you understand, by the white slave masters when the blacks were slaves in this country. You understand? We are no longer slaves right now, but this is where the word comes from. It's the lowest.
You never were a slave, pal. I got news for you.
Pardon me?
You never were a slave.
No, I'm not saying me. You understand? I'm just saying this is where the word originated from.
All right, we're going to get the answer, folks. Don't give up. Don't give up. Yeah, we're going to get it.
You're going to get it. You're definitely going to get it if you just listen.
I'm listening.
The word is used between young kids. It's used between adults. It's used between boys and girls.
I'm going to give you 15 seconds to tell us what it is.
What it is just a simple fact of calling a person a no-good person at that point. But you get words like you call people sometimes.
This guy does not. You know what it is, Manuel? I just figured out why you haven't told me what it means when one black uses it on another black. You know what it is? You know what the answer is? The answer is you don't know what the answer is. That's why you're stalling around. That's why you're thumping around. That's why you're using all kinds of cockamamie side issues because you really don't know, Emmanuel. You just don't know.
No, I'm not.
Now, because if you knew, you'd tell me.
I don't want to take everything.
If you knew, you'd tell me, but you can't tell me.
Yes, I can tell you.
Well, then do it, please.
Like the man was saying, it has become like a word of affection. It's not a word of affection. You understand?
Don't tell me what it is and tell me what it is, why they use it.
It's become a throwaway word. You understand what I'm saying?
It's a throwaway word.
It's a throwaway word?
It's a throwaway word.
Cagazote is a throwaway word.
Here we go. The guy keeps saying cagazote is not a throwaway word. This subhuman, I hung up on him. There was no point in keeping the jerk on. I thought he was really going to tell us something, give us some inside information. He had no inside information. Emmanuel, if you've gone back to your radio and you're listening, tu se proprio non spaccismo.
I mean, what's the logistics of calling something a charity and writing it down on the ticket?
And
well, the people who seem to know about this say about $80,000 was collected, and he turned over $25,000.
It's ridiculous.
Nice little profit. Hey, I'd like to take in 80 and turn over 25.
Oh, I mean, I don't consider myself a racist, but it's now.
Why do you even have to say that?
Because if you say anything like what I'm saying now,
hey, this is the Bob Grant Show. This is not a. This is an oasis where you don't have to be intimidated. You don't have to be afraid. Grant, hello.
Hello, Bob.
Yes, Dave.
Okay, Bob. I'm completely outraged at this rape. I can't tell you how upset it's gotten me. And then at the end of the article in the Post, the father felt he had to say that he wants revenge and he wants these animals dead, and even if they were white, he would still want them dead. He had his sensitivity to the problems that we're having today, that he had to say that irks me also.
Well, you see, everybody's been so brainwashed that even at this moment, this man, what's his name, Lynch, Merrill Lynch?
Yes, he works for Merrill Lynch.
He works for Merrill Lynch, yeah. No, even this man had to say that at this point because he, like everybody else, has been so brainwashed.
That's brainwashed. Right. And the lies with David Dinkins. And
well, it's more than him. It's he's hardly the type of a profound presence that we could say is that important. As a matter of fact, the tragedy of the Attendant is that he's not important, and yet he should be because he's the chief executive of the city of New York. But nobody really can take him seriously because the man is a travesty.
Hi, Bob. With all the brainwashing going on in regard to interracial attacks, I think that the actual numbers on who is attacking whom are very relevant. According to the most recent FBI crime statistics, which go back to '88, for individuals attacking individuals, for every singular attack by a white on a black, there are 11 attacks by blacks on white. And as for group or gang attacks, for every attack by a white gang on a black individual, there are 60 attacks by black gangs on white individuals. So the reason that they make so much hyperbole when it's the other way around is to keep you from actually acknowledging and being aware of real numbers.
Well, of course, it's ridiculous. And I tell you what's equally repulsive. These gay activists, these homosexual activists, are outraged not that the 11-year-old was sodomized, not that he was sodomized by someone with AIDS, but they're outraged over the fact that this scum, this dirtbag, had his name published.
Well, isn't that too bad? Can't have to vent a little bit of my anger, Bob, about these 3 traders that went over to Japan from the big 3 auto companies. I'm a World War II Marine Corps veteran, and I served in the South Pacific. And we fought the Japs until they surrendered. These guys surrendered. They went over there with their hands up and said, please, don't build such a good automobile. We can't do it. And to me, it's the biggest disgrace I can't describe how I feel watching this Iacocca come over there and tell these people, we can't build a good car, and you can. It's a disgrace. It's just a disgrace what the automobile industry has done. I have personal knowledge. I had 3 different automobiles, an 81, an 84, and an 87, of the 3 different makes that I had personal involvement with. And one was a bigger piece of junk than the other. I wound up buying a Japanese automobile. My daughter says to me, I told her I bought a new car. My daughter says to me, what'd you get? And I told her. She says, you bought what? She couldn't get over that I had bought a Japanese automobile because she knew how I felt, having been in World War II in the Marine Corps, and I served in the South Pacific.
Yeah.
And I think it's a disgrace that these people had the nerve to go over there and say to the Japs, I'm sorry, we can't build as good a car as you. Why don't you build a better? Why don't you also build a piece of junk so that we can sell our cars? That's the way I interpret it.
Yeah, well.
That's the way I have a friend who just bought a $28,000 automobile. Can I mention the name of the car?
Leave it out for the time.
Leave it out for now.
Yeah.
He had so much trouble with it. He was in and out of the dealership. They